all of it in their head is brilliant in six figures. If we could get it out of their head and systematize it, then what's possible?
You are listening to Amplify Your Success podcast, episode 392. And today we're going to discover the silver bullets required to grow your business fast. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, entrepreneurs and business leaders. It is your host, Melanie Benson, authority amplifier and possibility igniter for expert-based entrepreneurs ready to hit 5- and 6-figure consistent months. Today, we have a guest joining us to talk about what has actually been missing for most people who say they want to grow their business, but haven't seen the growth they're looking for. This is going to be a really insightful conversation. And before we drop into that, let's talk about what I see missing for many business owners, especially business owners that may have a little bit of apprehension about sharing their message in a bigger way, or maybe they have some unresolved conflicts, some things that maybe they're worried that will happen if I get bigger. If I expand my business, I might have to face this thing that I'm not sure I'm ready for. What I believe is that our unconscious barriers, our unconscious blocks, end up becoming a derailer. It becomes an invisible wall that holds us back. And that's why I include mindset inside my $1 million visibility framework. It's funny, I've been talking to so many people lately about the $1 million Visibility Mastermind, formerly known as Authority Mastermind. And what I have discovered is that some people know they should be more visible. They know they have this thing that should be out there in a bigger way, but they're holding themselves back. So if that sounds familiar to you, I'm going to encourage you right now to go download my $1 million visibility framework. It is a very simple but very powerful set of steps that everybody needs in order to get to those high 5- and 6-figure months. And I'll unpack a little bit about how you can borrow other people's $1 million visibility streams to help you jumpstart your business growth. So head to melaniebenson.com/framework, download it. It's absolutely free. It's my gift to you, but I want you to review it and then give me a little shout out if you notice there's a couple areas that need a little optimization. All right, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back, amplifiers. I'm very intrigued about today's guest and where we're going because we're going to be talking about the silver bullets that an entrepreneur who's ready to get into 6- and 7 figures needs to grow their business fast. Now, let me give an official introduction to our guest today. His name is Ken Kilday. He is a former executive leader who has transitioned into being an acclaimed executive coach and business strategist. He has extensive leadership expertise, and he's often found empowering CEOs and business owners just like you to elevate their leadership capabilities so they're making sound decisions and achieving remarkable personal and professional outcomes. So whether he's helping people implement the groundbreaking Making the Cut business operating system, providing individualized and personalized coaching, or enhancing someone's team's effectiveness, the driving force behind Ken's approach is what he calls unwavering awareness. Ken, I cannot wait to dig into this today. Thank you for joining me all the way from Sedona, Arizona.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Melanie. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
And it's not all the way, is it? Like you're really literally just around the corner for us. So when I've got people all over the world, sometimes they are calling in from Germany or whatever, but you're literally just a hop and a skip away, one of my favorite places. So I wanted to ask you before we dig too deep into this. I mean, you come with so much background, you have so much experience as a leader, as a business owner, as working with CEOs of all kinds. But you talk about this unwavering awareness, and it made me so curious. What is that, and why do we need it?
Well, it's a lot of people hire coaches, work with strategists because they want to fix something. They have something in mind. And the first step to a change, to making a difference, to adjusting your business, to growing the business, is you have to know what it is that is causing the issue in the first place, and that's where the awareness comes in. Before we can have a choice, we have to be aware of how we are showing up, how we are impacting the people around us, whether that's our employees, whether that's our contractors, whether that's our clients, customers. We have to know how we show up, because once we have that awareness, then we move from being unaware, just sort of going through the motions, to living in choice, as I say.
Mm. That's a very powerful place to be. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times, and I can just speak to my community of people who they have this passion, they have this gift, they have this talent, and they're wanting to scale the reach of that so they can serve more clients, make more money, right? And
Mm-hmm.
what often I know happens is they tend to fall into um like I have a problem, it's not working the way I want, and they're focusing on a problem that maybe isn't the real problem. What do you see
Exactly.
there? Because I
Yeah.
know we had a really interesting conversation in the green room, and I can't wait to dig into this more.
Yeah, it's digging at the actual problem. It's for instance, I was listening to a client. They were one of their team members was saying they were very frustrated with salary levels, so they had the conversation and very transparent. Showed them all the math. They seemed happy about it, and then it came up again. And what that tells us is that was never the issue. Like,
Mm.
that was the easy thing to talk about, but it wasn't actually the issue. So we didn't solve anything, right? We stopped at the surface of, oh, this is your concern. Well, then I'll answer, without digging a little bit deeper. It became the symptom rather than the cause. So the silly metaphor I always use is, if your eyes are running and itchy, or your nose is running, your eyes are itchy, and then you take a Benadryl, well, you've just covered the symptom. It could be the house plant you have right next to you. You're violently allergic to it. If we solve it, now we found the cause. And that's what we're really trying to root into, is what is the actual cause of the thing, not the symptoms that are coming up from it. So for the entrepreneur that really wants to grow and really wants to progress, they may be attacking it just like they did when they founded their business. They're just working their butts off because they had a great idea, and that got them a long way. It does a lot of business owners, is just sheer grit and effort. And then they're going to hit a ceiling, and now it's going to take something a little bit different. What got you here will get you there. Um, Something has to shift, and that's where the deep conversations come in. That's where the unwavering awareness has to come in.
Mm. Well, I'm sure in all of the experiences you've had on both sides of, whether you've been the CEO and the working in a company or you've been coaching CEOs and business owners, you see some pretty typical mistakes people make when they're driving for growth. I'd love to
Mhm.
hear a little bit about that because I think we could probably maybe even hear ourselves in that a little bit.
Oh, sure. So the first one is, I don't have any time. I don't have time, and it's a knee jerk response to, hey, let's talk about delegation. You have a lot on your plate. Well, I don't have time to train anybody on that. And it's becomes a matter of, if you take the time now, you'll save countless hours on this repetitive thing that we have held on to as the owner of the business. So the I don't have time is usually it's an excuse. It keeps us stuck if we don't recognize that we all have exactly the same 168 hours a week. The only difference is what we choose to focus on and how we choose to use those hours. That is what differentiates us. And it's my contention that as an owner, using time well becomes a competitive advantage against anyone else that you're competing against.
Mm.
So that's number one. The second thing that I think is really, really typical is the whole idea of hiring. And that doesn't mean just employees, just their process for finding good contractors, etc. finding good services, software systems, etc. Oftentimes we wait until we either somebody leaves us or a contractor gives notice, and then we begin our process, or we're waiting until it's broken, and then we start the process for fixing it. Where great hiring is an all the time process. It's circular, not linear. So I'm always in the I've always had my eyes open and encourage clients to do the same. Of always look for the next person that you need to help your business grow. Always be that resource. And hey, you may find a peer who needs somebody, and you've been keeping your eyes open. You say, I know the perfect person for you. That creates a community of awesome talent. Talent's hugely important if you want to grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
those are two that I hear the most frequently. Time, and I need good people.
Well, before you go on, because I know you probably have a slew of these, but I want to come back to good people.
Mhm,
And can we just unpack that a little bit more through the lens of the entrepreneur who's maybe in six figures going into seven? They're
mhm,
starting to recognize, wow, the team I have isn't going to get me where I want to go next. But this idea of hiring for like there was a saying I learned many years ago, hire for the business you're becoming, not the business you are today. I
mhm.
think that can also be kind of scary when you're looking at how do I also maintain profit? I just am curious, what do you see as the best practice there for someone who's in that conundrum of growth over profit?
Yeah, it's there's a wicked trade-off of if you're hiring for the business you want to be, uh, that is a different human than what I can afford, right? All the talent I can afford may not be what you need to grow to the next level. And the components of hiring, if you want to dig in, I think early in business we're all taught you just look at the resume and you're looking for a talent set. So you're looking for a skill set, and usually we try to find a quote experience, right? We're trying to see some place where they've done the thing we want them to do. So that all by itself, we could do a whole podcast on making sure we're finding the skills, not necessarily have they done it exactly for your type of business, but find the skills. But the ticket to the dance is, do you have an indication that they can perform the role you need them to perform? And then there's a second uh, gate check, if you will. There's a second milestone they have to move through, and that is your core values. So I've worked with both when I was in business and now with my own business, working with clients in as owners. It's that element of they have a really talented individual that just seems to rub everybody wrong. There's just a friction they can't put their finger on, and most of the time, once we dig in and we find what those core values are, the things that the owner finds most important, there's a mismatch somewhere in there.
Yeah.
They're not bad people. They're talented. They don't value or think that certain things are important that are to the business owner, and that's why there's all this weird friction and there's a mismatch.
Mm, so well said. But I might have lived that one a few times. We all make the mistakes, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Again, a whole other podcast just on the mistakes I've made in the hiring process.
Me too. As a matter of fact, I used to teach that, so I get that one full force. I know you probably have several mistakes that you might want to highlight. Is there anything else that you think might be really important, mistake-wise, to highlight before we move into a new part of the conversation?
Yes, the other element of the hiring is we hire the first one that comes along because we don't move them through the gate checks, right? We don't do the full assessment. We don't take the time to get it right. We rush them in and we realize that they're not a fit and we drag it out, thinking that we're somehow going to change the essence of who this person is. And they're just never gonna, you're never gonna get past the friction because there's not a sense of belonging.
Hmm.
Yeah, you just let it go too long. So hire slow, fire fast if you have to,
Yes. As painful as it can be, that is
as
very true.
painful as it can be. Yeah.
Yes.
Which the corollary to that, that I know you've heard this too, when I say, hey, I'm gonna make something up. John's not performing very well. No, no, not at all. Okay, well, why are you keeping him on? Well, I don't know who else is going to do that work today. So I just got to suffer through it and keep him on.
Mm.
Here's my contention is in my career, I've had a really good employee that we all said goodnight Friday night, and he didn't come back Monday because he had a sudden heart attack, right? Bad things happen to really good people. So you never know when somebody's going to leave or pass away or have an accident. That kind of thing can happen out of the blue. So that's my argument for always be prepared, always be looking for talent, always have an eye towards who might be want to be part of what you've built. That's really great hiring process rather than starting from scratch every time there's an opening.
Yeah, or you realize someone's not working out and you have to let them go.
Yeah,
Yeah, if
yes.
you're firing fast, you probably need to have someone lined up. And that was a hard one for me to really embrace for a while because I know we get so enmeshed in the things that we need to do, like keeping your eye on the field and saying, okay, like I want to keep a few people on my radar in case I need them. It's almost like a muscle that we have to develop over time once we realize how
Mhm.
important it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. It becomes just part of our DNA, just part of running the business is having an eye out, not only for new business, but new team members.
Yeah. So you mentioned and I know you have a book around this and you have the topic of today is the six silver bullets. What do you consider the silver bullets that most entrepreneurs are not incorporating that we should?
Yeah, one of them is, and this came partly from my days as a financial planner way back when, but it's starting with the end in mind of what's the exit strategy of the
Mm.
business. And that sounds counterintuitive, but how you organize your business, how you build it, really depends largely on what you want to do with it. Is it, for instance, one of my clients intends to sell the business to a large conglomerate at some point, make it so valuable that somebody will buy it from him.
Mm.
Well, that has a strategy unto itself. Others want to pass it on to family members. Okay, well then we have to have a development strategy for the family members to take it, and so on. So starting with the end in mind is critical. It's actually the first step so that we can better plot out what the business growth strategy is going to be.
I love that. Start with the end in mind. I mean, I think starting with the end in mind, whether it's the exit strategy or where do you want to end up, like what do you want to achieve, like that's a decision making filtering system, right?
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
All right. So we start with the end in mind. What
Yep.
else are some silver bullets that we maybe need to shift away from how we've been doing things and really lean into?
Having a straightforward, I call it a one pager, tactical strategy. What do I want to accomplish in the near term, meaning this year? And then some of the more visionary, where do I want to be 3 years from now? And where do I want to be 10 years from now? So there's two kinds of people that are going to struggle with some aspect of that silver bullet. Uh, my big visionary, creative, right brain people are going to love the idea of a forward looking vision. The very left brain, detail oriented analyst types are going to absolutely love having a 1 year strategy, brass tacks. This is what we're doing every quarter. And they're going to just, they're not going to like the long term vision because they will immediately say, how in the world can I predict what will be happening in 10 years? So I'll say it goes together because, first of all, the 10-year part of that is simply directional, right? If you are in Dallas, do you want to see the Pacific Ocean or do you want to see the Atlantic Ocean? You're going to go east to west. It's that straightforward, but you have to know what direction you're going. That's all it is. And by the way, a 10-year vision or um, a 10-year goal is always 10 years away. So there's that. Also, from a tactical standpoint, you need to know what you want to accomplish in each quarter of a year so that every day you can assess where your focus is. If your focus is getting you towards those quarterly goals, that is exactly what you need to be doing. If it's anything other than that, it's a distraction to you. So it's combining left and right brain in a one-page document, front and back. And I have a template in the ebook that anyone can use. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a binder full of information. It can be a simple directional document that gets everybody on the same page.
I love that. Focus is something, or clarity, and then the ability
Mhm.
to focus on that clarity, I think, is a game changer, especially for highly creative people who they're always chasing the next idea,
Yes,
right? And
yes,
I think, going back to the people part, like if you know you are going in this direction and this is your focus and this is what you need to be making decisions to get you towards, it also would help you prioritize investing in the right people to get you there.
exactly. And a lot of businesses, a big chunk of businesses, and I know this because I use a profiling tool like every coach, businesses are often founded by forward thinking, creative, visionary, idea generating people. And that's important. Then they have to add all the tactical execution performance measurement that goes with the success of the business.
Mm,
So that's what having a strategy will do for them.
yeah. I was thinking as you're talking about all the clients that I've worked with over the last 2+ decades, where they had the idea, but then they second guess the vision because they don't know how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And the how keeps them stuck in this limiting focus, right? What
Yes.
is your advice? And I know that there are people who listen to the show here that that's their nemesis, right? They have the vision, they have the ideas, and they're like, but how do I move the needle towards that? What would your advice be to someone who lets themselves get stuck in that how?
Well, that ties into what we were just talking about. It's another silver bullet if you have to have the right people around you. Um, it doesn't always have to be a W-2 employee, if you will. It can be a contractor, but others who can help the execution. How is an execution question?
Mhm.
So having people that know how to manage projects, to bring products, services, offerings to market on time and under budget, those are important talents to have around us. So either we use some of the human capital, but also some of the other resources, software tools, planning documents to keep us on track. So some of that is a little bit of a learned behavior, right? Each time I get distracted on, oh my gosh, I have this great new idea. All right, now I have, and this is part of the tactical strategy of what is my core focus? Does this new idea I have fit the core focus? If yes, we keep going. Okay, it fits my core focus. Is it going to disrupt any part of my annual plan and my quarterly goals that I've already set? Yes, it will disrupt them. Then I won't consider it right now. It doesn't fit into what I know I want to do. And that's the hard part for people to have, more great ideas before lunch than others get all year long. It's a bit of a paradox. It's the entrepreneur's paradox of they have so many things they could do. So one of my little coaching memes, if you will, is you can do anything, but you don't have enough time to do everything. So you have to choose.
Mm.
You have to choose.
Yeah, wise counsel. And I'm glad you were talking about the paradox of entrepreneurship. I've seen you mention that before. And I think that is the big conundrum, right? Is and I would layer into that. I think a lot of people have this illusion, if I just work a little more or I work a
Mhm.
little smarter, I can get there on my own. And nothing you've said today says you're going to achieve that bigger goal on your own. I
Mhm.
love that you brought in, like, you have to surround yourself with people who can help you implement and focus and get more done. And it's the right people, but it's not you by yourself.
Right. Even in the sports world, in an individual sport, there's still a whole team behind that person helping them achieve what they achieve. If they're at elite status, if they're winning championships, which is where the money is in sports, there's still a team that's helping them get there.
Mhm.
There are coaches and public relations and so on. There's all sorts of people that help them. So nothing is individual. No great success is ever individual.
Mm, well said. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Oh, I think sometimes people who own their own business, they're used to being decisive and making decisions and getting things done and relying on their own intuition or their own process to get them there. So when you're coaching people who maybe move into a bit of resistance and have a hard time kind of releasing their way and trying your way, what advice would you have for them, or how would you maybe open them up to being willing to try a new way?
Yeah, well, and it's more. I always think of my way, if you will, as it's a framework. It's skeletal. I always say it's the human skeleton is 206 bones. All 8 billion people on the planet have the same 206 bones, absent illness or injury. It's we're all identical in that at that level. However, we're also all unique once you get the rest of it on there. So what I'm offering is skeletal, so they can make this their own. Structurally, though, the reason all 8 billion people have those same 206 bones is because that is the most durable for our species. So I'm not trying to tell them to do anything differently. I'm trying to bring them to an awareness of is your way, entrepreneur, getting you what you want? It has gotten you quite far, or you wouldn't be where you are. If you're at 6 and you're trying to get to 7 figures, you've gotten as far as you're getting through your efforts and your intelligence and your ability. What I'm trying to bring them to is an awareness of how they then grow that exponentially, right? So if all of it in their head is brilliant in 6 figures, if we could get it out of their head and systematize it, then what's possible?
Mm.
So once they get to that, the notion that they can be much bigger the more people they have that understand what they're trying to achieve. Now we're cooking with gas. So it's just a matter of helping of them acknowledging that they want to grow beyond where they currently are. And again, I love sports analogies because they're apt. You can have the most gifted football player on the planet. However, he cannot see himself throw the ball. So until the coach says, "Do you know if you pulled your arm back 2 more inches, you would get 10 more yards?" And all of a sudden it comes together for him. That's my role. I'm not there to teach somebody how to be a business person. I'm there to give them actionable, objective feedback of how they can be an even better business person.
Mhm. I love that. That is very powerful. And I think the sports analogy is so perfect for coaching in business because yes, we all have a talent that got us to where we are today. But if we want to go to a new place and you've not done it before, chances are you're going to speed up results. You're going to optimize the process and make less costly mistakes by having somebody who can see into our blind spots and recognize what framework, as you said, can deliver that outcome and how closely aligned are we with that framework? If we're way off or we're close and maybe a couple little course corrections. I always think in golf analogies because that's the only game I know how to play. But I love the ball analogy. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, golfers, they also have multiple coaches, right? There's one to help with the what is it? You in golf, it's you drive for show and you putt for dough.
Yep.
Isn't that the same?
Yes.
So yeah, you do want to drive the ball hard, but then, right, in as few strokes as possible, you need to get the ball in the hole.
Mhm.
And it's those subtle little shifts. Subtlety in golf has huge impact on the ability of that golfer to make serious money. And if you think about somebody like Tiger Woods, who physically he's a very tall person, that's actually not. Somebody else told me this. The physics of a very tall person don't really work with golf, but yet he managed to have a whole career in it. I hear. So yeah, uh, again, nobody's teaching him how. They're just helping him make the most of his natural gifts. I see that as my role as a coach. I'm not there to teach you how to run your business. You're the expert on your business. I'm there to help you make the absolute most of your native genius.
Hmm. That's a good one. I love that. Native genius. Well said. I would love it if you would share how people can connect with you. And I'm sure you have a resource that can bring all of this home for our listeners today.
Sure. Yeah. If anybody is interested in the ebook and you can look at the 6 silver bullets, you need to grow any business fast. You can go to makingthecut.biz. In the ebook itself, I offer plenty of templates. You'll get a sense for how I speak and how I coach in the ebook itself. And throughout, I invite you to text me, email me, schedule a session with me, whatever you need in the moment that you need it. That's how you can connect with me and get some resources and see what my coaching business is all about.
Hmm. Love that. What a generous offer. So makingthecut.biz is where you can find it. And friends, we will link that up in the show notes so you can quickly click on that to grab it. I'm actually going to go download it myself. I'm intrigued by the way you hold space for stepping into leadership in a greater way. So thank you for sharing that wisdom. Now, this is the time, Ken, in my interviews that I like to ask a couple of fun standard questions of our guests just to help people get to know you a little bit more because you have
Okay.
such a rich background and so much wisdom we could probably learn from. When it comes to your business and the trajectory you've been on, what would you say is the boldest thing you ever did that ended up massively amplifying the success of your business?
Yeah, the boldest thing I ever did, it's the phrase, I burned the boats. So when I left corporate America and started my own coaching firm, I moved to Sedona. So it used to be just this little tiny weekend getaway house we used whenever we could. And we sold our house in Phoenix, which meant from a corporate career standpoint, I didn't have access to a big city or a big airport or anything else. And that meant I needed to make my coaching practice work. And that took away any other option in my head. So I was solely focused on growing my practice and being effective at it. So there was no toe in the water, one step at a time. I literally jumped into the deep end, and it turned out to be the best thing I could have done. By the time COVID hit, I at least had some runway. We were already used to working at home, so it wasn't weird for us. So it was the best. It turned out to be one of the best things. At the time, it seemed like, oh my gosh, I must be crazy for doing this, but it turned out to be the best thing ever.
Hmm. Love that. Yeah, I kind of burned my boats too when I left corporate. So it was like, you're all in, you better make this work, right?
Yep,
There
yep.
was no going back. What's one thing you wish you would have done sooner because you end up realizing, wow, okay, I should have done this sooner. It was going to have a good ROI.
Yeah, I wish I'd understood that coaching was a profession unto itself. I
Hmm.
always did it as part of my corporate life, but I hadn't put it all together in my head until much, much later. But it is the part of my corporate life I loved. It was the part of every job I ever had that I loved to do, which is why I ultimately got where I got because somebody finally said, "Hey, what's the favorite part?" So I wish I'd found that much sooner. And there were plenty of ways I could have done that, plenty of firms that did it, but I got here eventually. I
Yeah.
got here eventually.
Yeah. Coaching is one of the most powerful career paths. It's such an amazing gift to be able to coach somebody and
Yes,
to have them trust us, but to also know that our own path, like the trajectory we've been on, all of our pain, all of our learnings can be gifted to someone else's journey and help them get there faster. So,
yes, yeah.
congratulations on that for you as well, Ken.
Thank you.
Yeah. Last thoughts before we wrap up.
Yeah, for those of you that are looking for a place to get away and see what real beauty looks like, come on up to Sedona, and we can coach in the wilderness if you like. It's beautiful.
Ooh.
Give
Well,
your give yourself, yeah, give your mind a break and get away from it all.
as I'm speaking with Ken, I'm looking beyond him at this gorgeous scene of trees and clouds and blue sky and thinking, ah, Sedona is one of those magical places. So if you get the chance to go to meet with Ken, to be in the gorgeous energy of that city or town, I guess it is, take him up on it. Thank you, Ken, so much for today.
Thank you for having me, Melanie.
Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. Be sure to join us right now in the Amplify Your Authority community at authorityamplifiers.com, and I'll share my 7 proven tips to be a highly paid expert that stands out in a crowded market. Plus, we're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.